sound like, you know what I'd really love to do is I'd really love to spend a little bit more time together. How would that feel for you? It could also sound like, hey, do you have a moment? I just have a simple request. Let's say it's a friend and it's a boundary issue. Let's start with empathy. I recognise this has been a really tough time for you, and I know you've been going through a lot, and I really feel for you, and I'm really sorry for how hard that it's been. But what I'm noticing is what you're asking of me is a little bit more than I'm able to give right now. So what I can give is this. It says, look at what the cost is of you staying in that relationship, and if the cost is you, that cost is too high. Nobody in this world is worth giving yourself up for. Hi there, welcome back to my YouTube machine. I'm Cheryl Muir, relationship expert, relationship whisperer, dating drama slayer, conqueror of shitty relationships, helping your relationships to go from to ah. That is what I do. That is what we're here to do. And today we're going to talk about how to ask for what you want in relationships. This is really a source of a lot of stress for many of you, and used to be for me as well. So we're going to talk about the 3 steps to asking for what you want, and they might be surprising. You know me, we're definitely going to uncover what happened in the past and what's blocking you from moving forward, but we're also going to get really, really practical as well. Before we get started, I also wanted to introduce you to Radiance. Radiance is my brand new mastermind, and we're going to help you really soften into your heart, embody your feminine energy, and become the woman who's supported and cherished and adored, instead of feeling like you're overgiving, feeling like you're always the supporter, feeling drained, feeling like the lone wolf, feeling like you can't ask for help, and just feeling pissed off and resentful in your relationships, which is not the energy we want to move forward with. So if that sounds like it's for you, if that feels really, really good in your heart, then the details for Radiance are down below. You can check them out, book a call with me, and we start on June 1st. So let's get started with this week's video. What happens when we don't ask for what we need in relationships? Well, as I alluded to, we start feeling pissed off, drained, resentful, really tired. We feel like, the experience for me was feeling like I'm always giving, but I'm not receiving. And often what I would do would be to blame the other person. And while there can be some stuff there with the other person, as we know, we can't control or change the other person. But what we can look at is what we've been doing and how we've been participating in a dynamic where we're the supporter, the giver, the fixer, the rescuer. Hello, codependency. Recovering codependent right here. Recovered codependent. What's happening there is we've set up a dynamic where we're the ones giving. And so, of course, when we start changing that, it's going to be difficult for people sometimes. What this can look like, and I'm just going to give it to you straight, no chaser. What this can look like is sometimes people leave your life. And I want to give you a heads up on that, because that's like the kind of the ugly truth of boundaries and asking for your needs to be met, right? It's not going to be that everyone's like, oh, sunshine and rainbows and buttercups and unicorns and fairies. Yeah, that's great. Not everyone's going to say that. Some people are going to be like, well, actually, this relationship only works for me when you're doing what I tell you to do, when you're being of service to me. This relationship really doesn't work when you're getting your needs met. So if that's the dynamic you've got going on with someone, just be aware that they may leave. And that's okay, because we don't want people in our life that don't want to work with us, that don't want to see us have our needs met, who, when we ask for our needs met, don't meet that with empathy and a feeling of like, oh my God, I really want you to be happy. I want you to be able to receive what you want in this relationship. Like, how do we figure it out? How do we work through this? What do you need? If it's not that, and you're met with a very defensive person, or you're met with someone who wants to over explain and do the whole thing of like, let me list out all the things I've done for you, then that's going to be really difficult to move forward. Conflict resolution 101, and really part of what we're talking about today, can incorporate conflict resolution. Asking for what you need and conflict resolution is not the same thing, but it can overlap like a Venn diagram. Conflict resolution 101, the first step, and I teach this in one of my programs, Infinite Love, is to make sure that you're willing to see the other person's perspective. And the thing is about that is we both have to be willing to see one another's perspective. I remember watching an interview with Liam Gallagher, of all people, last year on a British chat show. And they were like, hey, how's the relationship with your brother? Because they have a very rocky relationship. And he said, here's the problem with our relationship. He thinks it's all my fault, and I think it's both of our fault. And I thought, you know, from Liam Gallagher, that's quite profound. I was quite surprised. But what he was saying was, he thinks it's all me, but I know that it's both of us. And that is conflict resolution 101. Are you willing to see the other person's perspective? Are you willing to take on board what is yours and say, yeah, I fucked up. I didn't ask for what I needed. I didn't set my boundaries. I didn't explain it. I could have been better at that, right? That's our part in it. The other person's part is their stuff, their actions, feelings, beliefs, choices, and we can't take that on. And when we've been very enmeshed, codependent, I have other videos on that. Maybe I'll link one above so you can really get into that. I think I have a video on codependency. Hopefully we do. I'll find out when I edit this later. But when we've been very codependent and we've been really overgiving, often we will take on board someone else's stuff. So we'll ask for what they need, ask for what we need in a relationship, and they'll come back with something that isn't very helpful, and we'll go, oh, you're right, it's all my fault. It's not your fault. We can take responsibility for where we didn't speak out, for where we could have communicated better, but they've also got to take responsibility for their stuff. So just know that too. If you're working with someone who's not really that emotionally healthy, this is going to be a more challenging process. That was a very long intro, but an important one, but let's get cracking with step number one. Step number one is get clear on what you need. Get clear on what it is that you need. This might sound like a bit of an obvious one. Like, is that really the first step? How to ask for what you want in a relationship is knowing what you want, really? Yeah, thanks, Cheryl. That's kind of obvious. Yeah, it is. But often we're not clear on what it is we want and what it is we need in relationships. So you need to get clear on that first. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Dig into my videos, dig into my courses. You can work with me. Like, there's a whole bunch of ways that you can do that. You can look at love languages. That's really, really important. So if you have a need of physical touch, like hugs, closeness, and you also have a need for quality time, then that's going to be something you're going to need to express to the people in your life. A slight nuance here and a slight caveat is that someone can be giving a lot to you in a relationship and your needs are still not getting met and you're still not getting what you want. And that's when there can be friction. When you start to explain what you need and say, hey, look, this is really what I need, it can be sometimes a bit unsettling when someone realizes that what they've been giving you is not actually what you wanted. Like, there's been a lot of assumptions. That is one of the 4 agreements. Do not make assumptions. And sometimes we do make assumptions. And it's fine. We're human. It's all good. But if someone's been, sending you gifts, but what you need is quality time, they have been giving, and like, bless them. That's so nice of them. But it's not what you need, and it's okay. So step number 1, get clear on what it is that you need. Do you need time with the people that you love? Do you have a boundary that you need to set? What is it you need from them? Get clear on that first. Step 2, what's been holding you back? What has been holding you back from asking for what you want in relationships? So there's a quick way to do this. Close our eyes together. Imagine going up to this person in your life that you're thinking of right now and asking them for what it is you want in the relationship. Hey, what I need is this. What I'd really want us to do is this. I'd love it if we could. What feeling arises in your body? Where is that in your body? What emotion is it? Can you name it? Is it fear? Does it feel a little bit anxious? Does it feel like being worried? And where does that come from? Is that linked to a memory in your past? What do you need to do to release that? What do you need to do to release that? And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. It's really important that you know why this has been hard for you, because that's the block. That's the thing that's been in the way. In terms of blocks, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm blocked, I have this big block. It just means there's something that happened before that's going to be pulling us back from moving forward unless we address what happened back there. So it's worth looking at your family, right? What happened in your family when you asked for what you need? Were you shut down? Did someone leave? Was there an argument? Like, what happened? Were you in a very chaotic environment where you didn't have your voice heard? Like, what's the dynamic there? Where does that come from? And what do you need to do to release those emotions from your body? When you can do that, it really clears the way, it like clears the path so that you can move forward and actually voice what it is that you want. I'm getting the visual of driving along a country road and there's a tree that's fallen down and it's in the way. That's what the block is. You need to remove the tree, and depending on whether that's a small stick or a big ass fucking thick tree, it's going to take a little more effort than others, depending on what the block is and how significant the block is. But then once we remove that from our path, then we can move forward. Step 3, communicate your needs and wants and desires and preferences. So this is the part that's practical now. Like, now we've been clear, what is it that you want and need? What is it that's held you back in the past from articulating and voicing what it is you want and need in your relationships? Now we're going to actually do it. We're actually going to do the thing and we're going to express it. So how you actually articulate this and how you voice it is going to be different depending on who you're talking to. It's going to be different depending on whether they're your lover, your partner, your long-term partner, your friend, your close friend, an acquaintance, a colleague, a client, a co-worker, a boss, a family member. It's going to be different, right? And that social coding, that knowing how to speak to people differently depending on who they are to us and how close the relationship is, it's important to know that. And it's also going to depend on what their level of emotional health is. Now, what I would say about this is when you're on this path of doing this work, it's actually essential that the people in your life have some level of emotional health. Otherwise, it's not going to work, sweetheart. It's not going to work if the people in your life are completely clueless and you're the one that's doing all this work, watching these videos, reading the books. You're going to then be always the supporter because they don't speak the same language. Be like going to France and you're the only one in your group of friends that can speak French. You're the one that's always asking for the things and doing the things because you can speak the lingo and they're not fluent in it. Same kind of thing. They're not going to be fluent in emotional regulation, conflict resolution, needs, love languages, etc. They're not going to know what the fuck you're talking about if they're not doing that work. So with people like family members, that's something that's, you know, we can't really change. But with the people that you're choosing, actively choosing around you, we can obviously make choices about our family and our relationship to them, but we don't choose them as such. But with the people you're choosing to have in your life, like your friends and those people you're building a community with, it's worth looking out for people who are emotionally healthy so that when you voice this, they're going to get it. So how do you say it? It could sound like, you know what I'd really love to do is I'd really love to spend a little bit more time together. How would that feel for you? It could also sound like, hey, do you have a moment? I just have a simple request. And then state your request. Let's say it's a friend, it's a boundary issue. Let's say they've been asking of you more than what it is you're comfortable giving. Start with empathy, right? I recognize this has been a really tough time for you and I know you've been going through a lot and I really feel for you and I'm really sorry for how hard that it's been. But what I'm noticing is what you're asking of me is a little bit more than I'm able to give right now. So what I can give is this, and state that. Maybe it's, you know, talking on the phone half an hour a week or whatever it is for you, whatever that limit is. And if you need more support, then maybe there's other people that you can reach out to that can help you. But my limit is this. And that's really going to help me stay healthy and happy and well. And it's really important that I do that. And I'm sure that's important to you too, because I know that you really care about me. How's that all feeling for you? Check in on how you feel. Because if some of those phrases, particularly the last one, if that makes you feel like you want to throw up in your mouth a little bit, then that's okay. It's totally understandable. Go back to step number 2 and try and dig out why it is that it's making you feel that way. Like, what is it that happened in the past that's making you have kind of a response that feels really anxious and feeling like you couldn't possibly say something like that. It's worth looking at what are you afraid of? What are you afraid might happen? What are you afraid that they might say? What are you afraid that they might think about you as a result of you saying this? It's worth digging into that. Final thought on this. It's not always about the person that's in front of us. And what I mean by that is these people that are draining the fucking lifeblood out of us, often they are a mirror always, they're a mirror for the relationship we had with one or both of our parents. So when you can go back and forgive your parents and heal your relationship with them, the people that have been mirroring this to you, mirroring the dynamic that you need to look at, they fall away because you don't need that mirror anymore. You don't need to be reminded of it anymore because you've healed it. You've moved forward, you've done the work, you've ticked off that karmic lesson. And there's also no longer that magnetic pull. It's almost like that magnetic pull, that trauma bond, if you like. It's like magnets that attract each other. And when you heal that relationship with your parents, then the magnet flips and it repels. And you feel repelled from these people. You feel sometimes repulsed by that behavior of them expecting you to overgive. And you're not going to tolerate it in yourself. You'll understand that you're not available for friends that pull on your energy, who use you as the therapist, who are not there for you during important occasions. You deserve to be supported, and you deserve to have relationships that make you feel lifted up. And also, if you have a relationship or a friendship in your life where you've done a lot of work and you've already voiced a lot of those things and nothing's changing, it might be time to give them the old heave-ho. And I know that's hard, and I've had this in my life recently, and there's a grieving process. It's difficult. It's not an easy thing. But it might be worth bearing that in mind. If you've gone through this process already and someone's just not getting it, and the dynamic is that you've got to overgive, then it might not be for you. I think this is actually a Dr. Phil quote. I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Phil, where he says, look at what the cost is of you staying in that relationship. And if the cost is you, that cost is too high. Nobody in this world is worth giving yourself up for. If you have to abandon yourself to be with them, that is not healthy dynamic, no matter who they are to you and no matter how long you've known them. You deserve to have your needs met. You deserve to be met with warmth and empathy and understanding, and someone that's really chill and relaxed and emotionally healthy, who goes, God, I fucked up. I'm sorry I fucked up. Like, we need to make this right. How do we make it right? Let's work together. Come on, give me a hug. Let's sort it out. We'll sort it out. Bring it in. You know, you deserve to be met with that. We all do. And sometimes there's a little bit of work we need to do just to get there. And like I said, if you want to go deeper, I'd love to have you in Radiance. The details are down below. You can apply for a call with me, and we'll really get clear on what is it you actually want to get out of this program, and is it a fit for you? And if it is, let's move forward. In Radiance, we're going to have 2 group calls a month. The calls are going to be really deep and deeply transformational and life-changing, and the calls are going to be 90 minutes to 2 hours. We're going to do that twice a month, and then in month 1 you also get a one-to-one session with me. We're going to dig in, go really deep, and really understand why it's been so hard for you, to ask for the support you need, because this is not an accident. This is something that has happened in the past that we need to clear, and then help you to soften so that you can actually receive that support, not just ask for it, but actually receive it, so that people come to you and so that you're receptive to that help and to being supported and cherished and adored and admired. I think the topic of is it safe to be admired as a woman is perhaps a topic for another time, but if you do need more, I'd love to have you in Radiance. So let me know in the comments below what was your biggest takeaway from this week's video, and I will see you next week. Oh, and if you need to find me on the interwebs, subscribe here to the channel, ring the bell so that it tells you when I've uploaded a new video. Like the video, share it, comment below, and I will see you next week. Much love.